You are standing in a Persian camp after the battle is already over. The shouting has faded. Smoke hangs over the tents. Men are pulling gold cups from wagons, stripping armor from bodies, and arguing over who gets what. Then someone points at you. Not because you fought. Not because you betrayed anyone. Not because anyone even knows your name. You are simply one of the women found inside the enemy camp, and that is enough. A horse can be counted. A camel can be counted. A silver bowl can be counted. So can you. This happened after the Battle of Plataea in 479 BC, 1 year after King Leonidas and his famous Spartans died at Thermopylae. Popular memory turns Plataea into Sparta's revenge for the 300. That is not completely wrong, but it is very simplified. The Greek army included Spartans, Athenians, Tegeans, Plataeans, and men from many other cities. And at Thermopylae, Leonidas had not died alone, with exactly 300 men. Thespians and other Greeks had stayed too. History likes a clean number. Real battlefields are usually messier. The Greek forces at Plataea were led on land by Pausanias, a Spartan commander and a relative of Leonidas. They defeated the army of the Persian general Mardonius. Thousands died. The Persian camp was stormed. The Greeks had survived invasion, burned cities, destroyed farms, and months of terror. Now they wanted payment. The camp would have smelled of blood, smoke, sweat, cooked meat, and overturned perfume jars. Women who had spent the morning hearing battle cries now watched armed strangers tear through silk tents and golden furniture. Nobody handed them an explanation. The uniforms changed, and so did the owner. Unfortunately, ancient armies had a very broad definition of payment. Inside the Persian camp were gold vessels, silver furniture, decorated tents, horses, camels, servants, and women. The historian Herodotus describes the captured women being divided along with the rest of the spoils. Read that sentence slowly. Women, gold, silver, animals, furniture. The categories were different. The treatment was not. For a captured woman, the first punishment was the destruction of identity. Before the battle, you might have been a servant, a captive from a Greek island, the companion of an officer, or a woman forced to follow the army. After the battle, none of that mattered. The victorious soldiers did not need a biography. They needed a pile of loot and a system for dividing it. You did not stand before a judge. No one asked whether you supported Xerxes. No one checked whether you had been kidnapped. You were present in the wrong camp when the wrong army won. Ancient justice could be wonderfully efficient when it skipped the justice part. The second punishment was forced possession. Herodotus calls many of these women the concubines of Persian men. Some may have entered those relationships willingly. Others clearly did not. Once captured by the Greeks, they could be assigned to new masters. That meant domestic labor, sexual control, forced travel, or sale into slavery. The exact fate of most of them was not recorded, which is not surprising. Ancient writers carefully preserved the names of commanders and the measurements of statues. The women being handed out were apparently less urgent paperwork. And somehow, it gets worse. The commander Pausanias received an especially large share of the spoils. Ancient accounts say he was given 10 of each major category, including women, horses, talents of money, and camels. 10 women listed beside 10 camels. That is not a modern insult added for drama. That is how victory was organized. Imagine surviving the invasion, the camp, and the battle, only to hear men discussing your destination as casually as they discussed a pack animal. Perhaps Sparta. Perhaps another Greek city. Perhaps the household of a soldier who had never seen you before that morning. You were technically alive, which the victors probably considered excellent news. One woman escaped this fate, and her story shows exactly how the system worked. She was a Greek woman from the island of Kos. According to Herodotus, a Persian named Pharyndates had seized her by force and kept her with him. After the Persian defeat, she dressed in her finest clothing, covered herself and her attendants in gold ornaments, climbed down from her carriage, and walked toward the Spartans while the killing was still going on. That was not vanity, it was strategy. She needed to look important enough to be heard before someone quietly added her to the loot pile. She found Pausanias, grabbed his knees as a suppliant, and told him who she was. Most importantly, she named her father and family. Pausanias recognized the connection. Her father was linked to him through guest friendship, an elite bond between powerful households. So Pausanias protected her and later sent her to Aegina. It sounds like mercy. It was, for her. But it also exposes the uglier truth. She was saved because she could prove that she belonged to the right family and knew the right network. If she had been poor, foreign, unknown, or unable to reach the commander, her story probably ends in the same silent line as the others. Divided among the victors. There was another moment after Plataea that makes the whole scene even stranger. A Greek named Lampon approached Pausanias and suggested mutilating the corpse of Mardonius. Xerxes had ordered Leonidas's body dishonored after Thermopylae, so Lampon wanted the Greeks to repay cruelty with cruelty. This was the revenge scene everyone expected. A dead Persian commander, a Spartan victor, and Leonidas's memory hanging over them. Pausanias refused. He said Leonidas had already been avenged by the Persian dead. He would not disgrace a corpse just to imitate the enemy. It was a proud answer, civilized, controlled, almost noble. Then the camp's women were divided as property. That contradiction is the real story. Pausanias could reject one kind of brutality while accepting another without hesitation. Mutilating a dead general was considered shameful. Enslaving living women was considered normal. Apparently, civilization had rules. They were just arranged in a very convenient order. Now, this is where the popular version needs correcting. There is no solid evidence that Sparta created a special set of punishments for women as revenge for the 300. There was no recorded tribunal where Persian women were sentenced for Thermopylae. There was no grand Spartan ceremony designed specifically to torture enemy wives and daughters. The documented reality is less theatrical and more disturbing. Women caught in the defeated camp were absorbed into the ordinary machinery of ancient war. Capture, division, enslavement, concubinage, sale, and disappearance from the record. They were not punished because of individual guilt. They were punished because victorious men believed conquest gave them ownership. Even women in Greek cities accused of supporting Persia do not appear in our sources as targets of some massive female revenge campaign after Plataea. The leading Theban collaborators were demanded and punished, but the stories focus on powerful men. The silence around women does not prove kindness. It usually means the writers were not interested enough to tell us what happened to them. That may be the darkest part of Sparta's so-called revenge. Leonidas received monuments. Pausanias received glory. The Greek cities dedicated bronze statues and golden offerings to the gods. The victory became a story about freedom defeating empire. But on the same field where freedom was celebrated, women were counted, divided, and carried away. No dramatic sentence was passed. No crime had to be proven. Nobody needed to hate you personally. You only had to be standing on the losing side when the men with spears began sorting the property. And in the ancient world, that was punishment enough.